All right, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from the people around the world. So this time we are going to discuss our lesson one, and that is um, number one is a text and context connection. Okay, text and context connection. So we are going here to discuss something. Okay, now in pre-assessment class, let's crack some nuggets of knowledge in your head. This module aims to let you know more about the study of literature. So answer the questions below to evaluate how much you already know about literature. Now, this should be answered without looking or reading your notes. Okay, so answer from 1 up to 10. Now, the first thing here is identifying the context of text development. Okay, so of course you have to read first our devotional, and that is prepare your thoughts. Now, it is the custom of CPAC Academy to start every class period with a short words of motivation. To start with, for online learners, it is a must for you to to visit your FB page for a short reading, and that will motivate you as you start your activities. So you just have to read the nature of scripture requires context. Now, at the end of the quarter, you will be able to, number one, identify the context in which a text was developed. And there are two, letter A, hypertext, and letter B, inner text. Now, number two, you have to explain critical reading as a form of reasoning. Formulate evaluative statements about text. And number one, assertions about content and properties of a text read. And counterclaims in response to claims made in a text and made in the text read. Number four, determine textual evidence to validate assertions and counterclaims made about a text read. Now, what do you mean by counterclaims? Let us open our Merriam dictionary. All right. So what is counterclaims? Okay. Counterclaims. Counter. Okay, according here, Merriam Dictionary says an opposing claim, especially a claim brought by a defendant against a plaintiff in a legal action. Now, counterclaim, for example, I am going to say you are ugly. So then you will have to rebut me, counterclaim. Now, what are your evidences, or what are my evidences? You're going to ask me, what are my evidences? Why you say that I am ugly? What are your evidences? That is counterclaims. Now, how about, okay, by the way, class, at the end of this lesson one, you have, or I am expecting you to write a 1,000 word query of a selected text on the basis of its claims, context, and properties as a written material. Now, so fasten your seatbelt. What you're about to learn will hone your skills linguistically as you continue further. This will help you understand the lesson. But before that, did you know that reading has a beneficial impact on our physical and mental health? It reduces stress for 60%. Right. So, what else? It slows the heartbeat and relieves muscle tension. That is why we're really privileged because we have this reading and writing skill subject. Okay, we are more on reading, and reading. All right, now let's go. Intertextuality. What is intertextuality? Being a critical reader involves understanding that texts are always developed with a certain text developed. Okay, there's a redundant here. Understanding that texts are always developed. Okay, so critical reader involves understanding that texts are always developed with a certain text. So to be critical reader, the following questions can be asked. Okay, now answer these questions after every reading of a text. Number one question, when was the work written? Number two, what were the circumstances that produce it? Number three, what issues deal with it? All right. So what are the synonyms or the other words of intertextuality? The following here are intertextuality are continuity, interrelationship, interrelatedness, interconnectedness, connection, linkages or linkage, cohesion, coherence. Okay, so that is intertextuality. Now, intertextuality is the way that one text influences another. It is the modeling of text meaning by another text. It is defined as the connections between language, images, and images rather. So the definition of intertextuality was created by the French semiotician Julia Kristeva in the 1960s. She created the term from the Latin word intertextu, which means to intermingle while weaving. Kristeva argued that all works of literature being produced contemporarily are textual with the works that came before it. This view recognizes that the text is always influenced by previous text. It means that any text can be considered a work of intertextuality because it builds on the structures that existed before. So the function and effectiveness of intertextuality can often depend quite a bit on the reader's prior knowledge and understanding before reading the secondary text. Okay, what is parody? Okay, parody is somewhat like a joke. The term parody, pronounced as parody, is derived from the Greek phrase parodia, which referred to a type of poem which imitated the style of epic poems, but with mockery and light comedy. Now, a parody is an imitation of a writer, artist, subject, or genre in such a way that to make fun or comment on the original work. So just like, for example, class like in GMA or in the world of media, we have lots of parodies, right? We have lots of parodies, and the purpose, one of the main purposes of this is to make the audience laugh. Okay, to make the audience laugh because they can earn money from that. All right. So what is allusion? Okay, what is allusion? Let's ask now Merriam Dictionary. Allusion. It is, says here, an implied or indirect reference, especially in literature. Right. So we're going to get an example as to what allusion is. Another example of allusion. Example of allusion. Allusion. Example. Just a moment. Okay, an example of allocations here, guys, are number one, don't act like a Scrooge. Okay, meaning a Christmas carol. Second example here is she was a good Samaritan when she helped the older lady. Okay, when we say good Samaritan, that entails about the biblical character. You notice when Jesus asked, when Jesus was so thirsty, and she found, she found a good Samaritan, a Samaritan woman, getting water from the hole. Okay, you notice that Samaritan. So in here, a person that has a good personality, that has a good attitude, is being alluded to as a Samaritan one from the Bible, meaning it's indirect. So say, for example, Brother Dan, you're such a Samaritan person. Meaning, I am saying that he is a good person indirectly. Okay, but not in a direct way. Instead of saying, Brother Dan, you're so kind, you're so good, I am using an allusion. I have to allude the word. You're such a Samaritan. Okay? So that is allusion. All right, let's proceed. Now, what about hypertextuality? Now, according to K. Amaral 2010, is simply a nonlinear way of presenting information rather than reading or learning about things in the other order that an author or editor or publisher sets out for us. Readers of hypertext may follow their own path, create their own their own order, their own meaning out the material. This is accomplished by creating links between information. So these links are provided so that the readers may jump to further information about specific topic being discussed. All right. Now, hypertext is a nonlinear way of showing information. So that is hypertextuality class. Now, in learning activity 1.1, that is identification, identify the context in which the text was developed. Hypertext, B, inner text. So instruction, read the questions carefully and write the letter of your answer on the space provided each number. Number one here, the concept of intertextuality refers to the idea that authors can use literary relationships as way to, letter A, communicate, B, pastime, letter C, make money, or letter D, read. Now you're going to answer A, B, C, or D. That will be your answer. All right. Okay, so that is what you got. That is what you're going to do in learning activity 1.1. All right. Now is critical reading and evaluative statements. Take note. All right. So critical reading and evaluative statement. All right. So what is critical reading? Okay, from the word critical reading, meaning you are not easily being persuaded of what you're reading, but you have this critical thinking. You tend to think first of the contents, of its content. Okay, you are not easily being persuaded. Now, critical reading is a more active way of reading. It is a deeper and more complex engagement with a text. Now, class, when we are reading, we have to talk with the text. Okay, we have to talk with the text. It's not just we are just like somewhat, we're just reading the line per line, but not understanding, not even comprehending or deciphering, things like that. So a critical reader, what is critical reader? A critical reader is the one who understands, who talks with the context or with the text. Okay. How about textual evidence? When you realize or when you analyze a text, you want your readers to know what the author actually says rather than merely your interpretation of the author's ideas. So that's textual evidence. This means that you quote, paraphrase, and or summarize the author's words to support your poems. Okay. Textual evidence, just like research, is more on textual evidence. Either you quote, you paraphrase, and you gather evidences. It's not merely your own interpretation. Okay, that is why you have a review of related literature. Let's proceed. Okay, now, how do you use textual evidence? You have to state the idea you have about the text. Okay, example, if you are to answer a specific question, be sure your idea restates the question, then give supporting evidence from the text. Now, to cite explicitly, paraphrase or use quotes from the text. If you use direct quotes from a text, you must use quotation marks. Now, about what is implicit, meaning it implies something. So, for example, I have a crush on a lady. So, what will I do to get her yes, her sweet yes? So, what will I do? First is I have to be kind to her. I have to show that I am fitted for her, that I care for her. Okay, and that implies love. If it is true love, okay, it implies that I like her so much. So that is implicit. Example, your mother shows you an angry face when you leave your socks on the floor. Showing the angry face means she doesn't like you leaving your socks on the floor. So instead of scolding you verbally, she just shows you an angry face. The same is when I like a lady, and when I give flowers, I give chocolates, I show kindness. These things imply that I like her so much. Okay, so that is implicit. How about explicit? It means communicating directly in a clear and exact way. Example, when I say, when I like a lady, I would say, I love you, I like you, like how the American people do, or say something. When they say, I hate you, they really mean that. When they say, I love you, they really mean that. Okay, direct. Okay. Now, sir, what is the difference between implicit and explicit? Simple. The answer is, when it's implicit, it's not direct. When it's explicit, it's direct. All right. So let's move forward. What is critical reading? A critical reading is a process of analyzing, interpreting, and sometimes evaluating. All right. So when we read critically, we use our critical thinking skills to question both the text and our own reading of it. A critical reading also tells the reader what a text does and what it means. In other words, while basic reading is concerned with what is in a text, critical reading is also concerned with how the text is written and why it is written in this way. Now, a critical reader has the following, number one, does not believe everything he reads. That's what I said earlier. Number two, questions everything which doesn't make sense to him. Okay, yeah, perhaps. Number three, questions some things even though they don't make sense to him. Okay. Number four, rereads when he thinks he may have missed something. And many more class. Okay, critical reading. You know what that things mean. All right. What is reasoning? Of course, that is understandable. A way a person, reason out. Now, what is critical reading for reasoning? Okay. Now, what is critical reading for reasoning? Critical reading involves presenting a reasoned argument that evaluates and analyzes what you have read. Okay, number one, argument is a statement that you use in order to try to convince people that your opinion about something is correct. That's argument. Okay. Why do you have to be argumentative type of person? In this world, living in a competitive world, sometimes we do, most of the time people do argue. Okay. But in reading, is there any argumentation? Yes, there is. That is why there is a counterclaims. According to the study of Mr. Nanali, things like. All right, so in here, there are some techniques to develop in reasoning. Number one, dare to read every day. Are we reading every day? Then citing relevant ideas of experts and authorities in reading material definitely help strengthen one's stance of an issue. Number two, learn to focus to the main ideas explicit or implied and supporting details mentioned in the argument. Number three, examine the pros and cons of your argument. This will help you weigh the flow of your thoughts presented. Number four, organize your thoughts. Arrange ideas either in chronological order or by emphasis, the specific or vice versa. Once organized, oral or written expression becomes meaningful. Number five, note points for improvement. After having justified an issue, recheck your stand. Your stand based on your power to convince. Of course, note points. Say, for example, in a law, in the trial court, most of the lawyers are, they will really make sure that they will have a counterclaims to the answer of their opponent for them to win. Okay, but no points for improvement. Of course, you have to take down notes. Okay, to take down notes and write possible things that you could improve with, or that you could improve on. Now, evaluation guide for critical reading. Let's skip this one. Now, in learning activity 1.2, based, all right, the competency explain critical readings as a form of reasoning. Stan and Daniel were the fastest bike riders in the whole school. They decided to have a big race on Saturday. Daniel put air on his tires. He oiled the chain. He checked the frame of his bike to make sure everything was just right. Stan did not do to his bike. His bike had cost 3 times as much as Daniel's bike. Stan thought that nothing could possibly go wrong. He laughed about all the work Daniel was doing while he watched a movie. Stan and Daniel arrived at the race the next day. Bob shouted, "Go!" So the boys began to pedal. Suddenly, Stan heard a noise. The chain had fallen off his bike. Daniel kept on pedaling and won the race. Now, question number 1. What would be a good title for this story? I know you have a good title. Number 2, should Stan have checked his bike like Daniel did? Why or why not? Number 3, what would Stan do next time? And number 4, who do you think should have won the race and why? So great job. You are now down to a certain level. Now let's go here in an evaluative statement. What is evaluative statement class? An evaluative statement is a way of giving a better explanation to show the strength and the weaknesses of something through writing. It is used in giving a sound judgment that can be backed up or supported by valid reason or proofs. How about assertions? Assertion is to assert something. Okay, becoming a good critical reader means that you are able to logically evaluate the claims of the writer. Assertion becomes the primary channel for a reader to assert to a claim. Assertion is stylistics approach or technique involving a strong declaration, a forceful or confident and positive statement regarding belief or a fact. Often it is without proof or any support. All right, so it is a confident and forceful statement of fact or beliefs. Its purpose is to express ideas or feelings directly. For instance, I have put my every effort to complete this task today. Standing up for your rights and not being taken advantage of is one definition. All right. So number 1 type of assertion here is statement of facts. Okay, it can be proven objectively by direct experience, testimonies of witnesses, verified observations, or the results of research. Okay, so example, the Sampaguita's roots are used for medicinal purposes. All right. The Sampaguita's roots are used for medicinal purposes, such as an anesthetic and sedative. So this statement is a fact because it can be directly verified by experience or reliable research reports. How about opinion? Based on facts, but are difficult to objectively verify because of the uncertainty of producing satisfactory proofs of soundness. All right. Example, the popularity of Sampaguita flowers is most evident in places of worship. So the above statement is an opinion because it is based on an observation that needs to be proven by studies and repeated observation. There are too many factors involved that makes explicit judgment difficult. Okay, so next is statement of convention. Is a way in which something is done. Okay. Wait. Let's go. Okay. Similar to traditions and norms, conventions depend on historical precedent. Okay, laws, rules, usage, and customs. So, example, the Sampaguita belongs to the genus Jasminum of the family Oliaceae rather. This statement is conventional because it is based on clarification system made up by scientists and is adaptable to the scientific community. All right. So say for example, when I say bird belongs to the how do you call this? Chicken belongs to the kingdom of bird because it has wings. Okay, so I may infer that that is a statement of convention because It is being classified, scientifically. Now, statement of preference. Preferences are based on personal choice. Therefore, they are subjective and cannot be objectively proven or logically attacked. Example, some pagitas are the most beautiful and most fragrant of all flowers. So this statement is a preference because it says a lot about the type of flowers that the writer likes, instead of objectively comparing the qualities of some pagitas to that of other flowers. Counterclaims. Let's go now to counterclaims. So to be an effective critical thinker, it is not enough just to be able to identify claims and assertions. It is also important to have the ability to analyze an argument and counterclaims. So counterclaims are claims made to rebut a previous claim. They provide a contrasting perspective to the main argument. So the following questions will help us to formulate a counterclaim. Number one here, what are the major points on which you and the other can disagree? Number two, what is the strongest argument? What did they say to defend their position? What are the merits of their views? What are the weaknesses or shortcomings in their argument? Are there any hidden assumptions? Okay, so these questions are really part of counterclaims. So welcome to learning activity 1.3. This activity will prepare you to formulate evaluative statement. Now identify the following assertions as statement of convention, fact, opinion, or preferences. So you have to answer a convention, fact, opinion, or preferences. This will be your answers. All right, so the textual evidence says that Jesus provided. Okay. Now, let's go. Determining textual evidence. So you have to read this one. You just have to read it. Okay. So what is evidence? Of course, that is very understandable. Why do you need to determine textual evidence? Okay. The need to answer questions after reading a text and or to share our ideas enables us to go back to what we have read and give evidence from it to prove that you are not just manufacturing your thoughts. Oftentimes, when you are asked about how nice a movie was, you need to cite part or parts of the movie. Part of the movie which could support your thoughts that it was indeed a very nice movie worthy to be watched. What I'm doing is using a textual evidence. Example, Eric often gets wet on Saturday. He wakes up 6 o'clock in the morning and goes straight to the faucet. He prepares a basin, soap, shampoo, and his tool. One by one, he calls out his friends for the Saturday morning's ritual. Question, based on the text, what is Eric's work on Saturday mornings? Wash his clothes, cook for breakfast, bath his pets, preparing for work. Of course, the answer is letter C, baths his pets. All right, so we're almost done. In learning activity 1.4, this activity will help you in determining textual evidences. Now, number one here, let's read the direction. Cite textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. Number one, Blade of Grass by Stephen Crane. In heaven, some little blades of grass stood before God. What did you do? Then all save one of the little blades began eagerly trilling. the merits of their lives. These ones stayed a small way behind. Ashamed, presently God said, "And what did you do?" The little blade answered, "Oh my Lord, memory is bitter to me, for if I did good deeds, I know none of them." Then God, in all his splendor, arose from his throne. "Oh, best little blade of grass," he said. The there are questions here. Number one, before whom did the blades of grass stand? Number two, what questions is asked of the little blade? And number three, what did each one relate? Okay, and many more questions for us. Now let's jump up to obtain new skills. Hooray! Hooray! So obtain new skills or firm up. Now exercise 1, reading analysis, competency, formulate an evaluative statement about a text read, assertions about the content and properties of a text read, and counterclaims in response to claims made in a text read. Now read the speech of Senator Manny Pacquiao. Apply the questions above in identifying the claim and counterclaim. Write this below, followed by a brief explanation. Let me read to you, class, a speech made by Manny Pacquiao at Cambridge Union. President Charles Connor and other esteemed officials of the Cambridge University, distinguished members of the Cambridge Union, other dignitaries in attendance, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow guests, good afternoon. A famous pastor once said, and I quote, "The world is a university and everyone in it is a teacher. Make sure when you wake up in the morning, you go to school." And of course, today, I am not just in any obscure part of the global university. I am deeply honored to be invited by the Cambridge Union, the oldest debating and free speech society in the world and the largest student society in the University of Cambridge. I am not a scientist, a mathematician, or a philosopher, but you have given me this privilege of addressing you. I am humbled to be in the midst of brilliant students in this prestigious university, and that has educated remarkable alumni, including British prime ministers, foreign heads of states, monarchs, and royals. It is my distinct honor to stand before all of you. I am delighted to learn that one of Cambridge University historic colleges is Emmanuel College, and that Harvard University, the first college in the United States, was organized after the model of Emmanuel. I have not experienced how it is to pursue a degree like a regular university student. My circumstances were very different from yours, but I did not allow these circumstances to limit me. I worked on and finally received my degree through the alternative learning system. More importantly, I continued to learn from the university called life. So Here is Emmanuel Dapidran Pacquiao standing in front of you. I am not here to show off my left hook or my fluid footwork. I am here because I want to personally share my narrative in the hope that it will touch even just a few of you and persuade you to think differently about life. I was born in poverty. There is a Filipino metaphor that goes, mas mahirap pa sa dagat, which translates to more destitute than a rat. From a very young age, I had to struggle daily to survive. I fought hard. I faltered. I failed many times, but I learned to rise again each time I fell. Each setback became a platform for a comeback. That is what life was like to me as a child. But my hardships are not uncommon. There are so many others around the world who have forced even worse. But my hardships taught me one valuable lesson. Never quit. If the world knocks you down, get up. If all things conspire against you, fight back. Quitting is not an option. I was only 7 years old when I had to take responsibility for my 3 siblings who were left under my care because my mother had to earn a living. I took it upon myself to help her. Mommy Tunisia, as she fondly called by the Filipinos, to earn extra money so that we can eat even just one decent meal a day. I was still in elementary school back then. I managed to attend classes even without sleep and without food. There were days when it was only water that kept me going. We were so poor that we could not even afford school supplies. I would use my pencil even if there was only about an inch long of it left that I could no longer hold it to my. I remember when I was in the 6th grade, and my classmates would flock around me for our mathematics homework because they knew I was reliable when it came to numbers. I did their math homework for them, and in exchange, they would share the food with me because they knew I rarely had any. Boxing turned my life around. I was only 14 years old when I left my hometown in Mindanao so that I can train for it in Manila. My narrative took a turn because of the crucial decision to take a big step away from my comfort zone. With the benefit of hindsight, I have realized that it is the grace of God that transferred me from nothing into something. My circle became bigger and bigger because of the countless opportunities that boxing brought about. My victories in the ring pushed, pushed me right into center stage and ushered in fame and fortune. Opportunities came knocking at my door, one after the other. I applied the same principles in public service. As a lifelong learner, I must keep improving myself and I must not stop learning. That way, I remain relevant to my people and the world who deserve the best of Manny Pacquiao inside and outside the ring. For as long as I exist, I will keep showing up my life for a life. I will continue to be a learner and always strive to be a teacher by imparting my hard-earned lessons to others. Each one of you in this room can change the world. Have faith, persevere, find your passion, and heed your calling. I urge you, as the Roman poet Horace did, carpe diem. Seize the day, and above all, fight. Thank you, and a pleasant afternoon. So class, you notice, don't notice the speech of Manny Pacquiao. The claim in the text. What is his claim? Okay, what is his claim? Now, after the claim, what is his reason? What is his reason? And then your counterclaim. And then your reason. Say, for example, if Manny Pacquiao said, the world is not part of the solar system. I mean, the Earth is not part of the solar system. That is his claim. Now, what is his reason? You're going to write the reason as well. Now, your counterclaims. If you say, the statement of Manny Pacquiao that says, the Earth is not part of the universe, you have to counterclaim that one. You have to defend. This statement is invalid because blah, blah, blah. And then you have to support it. Why this thing? Or what will be your evidence that will prove that Manny Pacquiao's statement that the Earth is not belong to the universe is wrong? And then your reason. Okay, that's how simple it is. Now, sharpen your task or deepen competency or direction rather. Cite textual evidence to support analysis of what text, okay, what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. Okay. Now, ang pagpamiling, okay, now this is in Bisaya. Kasagaran sa atong makitaan nga bulawan, purma singsing o kwintas ng daan. Ang wala lang nato na ibawan, unsay sinugdanan ni ining tanan. Ako nangitag limaw sa akong nahimutangan, ug sa dihang naabot ko ang kasubaan. Doon na ako nakitan og nadiskobrehan. Kini kon giun sa pagpanguha ang bulawan. Ang uban malipay kung may dulus. Sila dayon sa lapok magkalus og sa luntangan si ila kini sa laon aron ang mga margaha matidum. Sa dihang ang mga sinala matipok o mudaghan, ila kini isulod sa bilingan aron hugasan, hangtod ang mga tipaka sa bulawan makitaan, o ibaligya para ipalit sa bugas ug sudan. Ang pagpamiling dili sayon po buhaton, sa pagtanom sa humay, atong dumdumon, kung daghan makuha, ikaw surtihon, apan usahay matabla paghapon. Kung ikaw gustong makasaksi, ikaw sa akong nahimutangan, muanhi. Kay kini dili man pwedeng magpermi, kay ang dakong balay wala magtugot kiniini. Now class questions. Question number 1. What does the title, Ang Pagpamiling, mean? How do you know what is the textual evidence that supports you? So, you have to give first your title and then your textual evidence that will support your answer. So say, for example, my answer is clock. I have to cite an evidence that will support that clock is really the answer, the title. Okay, so that's how simple it is. Now let's jump into exhibit learning or transfer. Now what you're going to do, class, here is you are going to write a 1,000 word critics of a selected text on the basis of its claims, context, and properties of the written material. Now, Psalms 23 by King David. Right, by King David. Now, the high score here is number 1. Okay. Exemplary. Okay. Recollection of facts, demonstrated understanding. So by the way, class, you have to you have to visit the book of Psalm 23. Now, what is Psalm 23? You have to search it in the Bible and then critique it. Right. And then, so that's the end. You have to pass to me your performance test, because remember, class, your performance test is 60%. Okay. And then here in self-assessment, which part of the lesson is understandable to you? Which part of the lesson that you don't understand, and what do you want to know more about the lesson? Thank you so much, class, for listening. God bless you.